Hello there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, on or off planet, and whatever world. My guest today is Dr. Paul Luftenegger. I have known this beautiful man since at least 2017, and we came together in a musical environment when I was making a movie documentary called Kids Soul Speak. There were great people on there like Paul, who was composing music, and also people like Jack Canfield, Dr. Michael Beckwith back in the day. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time. Glad to have you back on my channel for the third or fourth time. Dr. Paul Luftenegger, how are you, darling?
I'm great, Danny. I'm so happy to be here with you. And I'm so excited to sort of be in 2023 energy that's all about freedom. Yeah.
I know. It's ever so exciting. It's interesting too, because we were just discussing all the people that we knew, and there was back in the day, like 2017, there was such a reverence towards, the Hay House people of the time, of that time. And it seems somewhat like a time, all these kind of spiritual thought leaders that were on stages around the world. And you see less and less of them now. And some of them, aren't as revered as they were for whatever reason. And there's been a lot of people over the last few years saying, well, this person's a satanic and this person's this and this person's that. And it's all very much changing. How do we even really know when there's people are brought to task and there's proof and there's courts and there's this and there's that? But what we have right now is the people that we've gone through these journeys with, and you're one such person for me. I have loved your music, and I'm so happy. I call you the angel man. I'm so happy we're
Absolutely.
going to be sharing some of your beautiful music. One of the things that you used to do that I used to so enjoy on Facebook was you would do live chats with or without guests, and you were calling it Love Expanding Love. Can you just share a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, so what's really interesting about the love expanding love aspect was that was shown to me in really 2011 that you have to become love expanding love. That's really actually like kind of like the sort of the pinnacle of I think why we're here. And when we start actually becoming love and expanding love with our inner heart and our inner soul, our inner technology, is what happens is love is being, people are seeking love, and then what happens is that you start to mirror heaven on earth. Whatever that is to freedom, whatever that is to your heart calling. And I was guided very, very clearly by God. I use the word God, source, creator, the beloved, but I work for the beloved. And I started answering the call to actually serve the beloved that way with my love, expanding love. And I've been doing it really since 2011 as guided by God. So, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And one of the reasons that you came into finding your voice on a musical high frequency, high harmonic level was because your father took his life and you were the
Yeah.
person that found him in that way.
Yes. Yeah, that was actually, it's interesting. So it's actually it's in 6 days from today that happened, 12 years ago to this time last year, or sorry, not last year, sorry, 12 years ago to this timeline. So we're on March the 6th of 2011 is when my dad took his own life. And it's a moment where I can't explain this aside from just I understood that the inside of me creates the outside of me. And it's very important that we all have an operating system that understand the inside creates the outside.
Your journey, Paul, Dr. Paul, has been so fascinating. Not only have you healed so much from that traumatic event and recovered, you have given so much love to people from that event, and you've gone on to study beyond being a reverend in an ancient seminary, to be able to hold your experiences in such a way that others will come and listen to your mission, your missionary, let's say. And it's an admirable feat that you have already acquired. And I know that you have been on another recent global concert expedition, let's call it,
Yeah.
where you were actually on stage with one of the most fascinating people I find on our planet, and that is the great cell biologist, Dr. Bruce Lipton. Could you share us some insights, please, with this beautiful man, his views on certain things, and please do share.
Yes, well, first of all, I love Dr. Bruce Lipton with all of my heart and soul. He's one of the if you've had the honor and the blessing of meeting him in person or maybe online, One of the things about being with him in person is you can feel his energy, because he is one of the most, when you are with somebody that is in pure joy, it is just contagious.
Yeah.
And he's one of those people that just, he isn't worried about anything really. He just lives in pure joy, in that honeymoon phase of being a human being incarnated during these crazy times. And he loves what he does. And I remember the first time I was with him, I was so nervous the first time I was in New York City in 2017, actually, at the United Nations for the people side of the UN, which has nothing to do with the bureaucratic bullshit.
Which is the
Uh,
NGO, right? The
yeah,
non-governmental. That's the
yeah,
bit that,
exactly.
because now people are so traumatized by hearing United Nations, for example, they switch off immediately and they don't allow
Totally.
themselves to gather the rest of the information.
So what I love about this part of the idea of the United Nations for me is the idea of pure freedom and working together as a human being with sovereignty. So I love the human side, which is the heart reaching out to help people. Like that's the side of the world that I really believe is sort of where we're at. So I think being with him at that particular moment, I remember after I shared the stage, and I did a whale meditation and an nautical meditation and shared sort of my story. And I remember after sort of our sharing on the stage, and I remember being so shaky. He came up to me and he literally kissed me with his lips, like from head to toe. He
Wow.
was so kind, he was so beautiful, and just so angelically
Mm.
I think just present by that moment. And that's the way he lives. So I hadn't seen him actually after the big C, the last 3 years. I hadn't seen him because of the world shutting down. So we rendezvoused in Denmark, and I was so excited because we had 2 days to be with basically 1,000 people each day to just help healing and help coming together after so much fear and bullshit.
Yeah.
So I really felt it was just a divine moment to be back with people after 3 years of insanity, pretty much. And it was September of last year that happened. So it was like 2.5 years, I guess, into the wildness of the last little while. And Bruce was on that stage, just sort of beaming through, explaining the importance of the subconscious mind, that we live in that space. Unfortunately, we're unaware of it as much as we need to be right now, but 95% of the time. And we only really are conscious 5% of the time in the statistics of that. So what we need to remember is if there's anything we want to change in our subconscious mind, it's the programs that we have to really work with to get out of them, to get into the now moment so that we can live consciously. And he was sharing just ultimately, I mean, you have the right over your own body. My whole thing with what I was sharing on the stage was healing the world, remembering how powerful we are, and that our frequency, our power, our frequency that's from within us, can really do extraordinary things with our intention. And so my part was healing, getting people into their heart, their core energy here, and really understanding that just by getting into your heart, taking a deep breath in, and actually beaming out healing energy to the world, and claiming your freedom, your sovereignty, your body autonomy, all of those things, when you are this temple from the inside of you, that is a very powerful frequency to expand out. And then when you unite together with others that do that, that energy is very powerful. And if you just see the world being healed from that space, it is done that way. It is that easy. So just really, like, that's sort of what we were doing in Denmark together, ultimately.
That's beautiful. When you say about people breathing into the heart and then expanding love out, breathing love out to others, we don't obviously want people to forget that they are the most important person in that moment. And if they can't
No,
allow themselves to give themselves full love, then they're really kind of, in my opinion, not really serving anybody outside of themselves, because where you want to throw out half-cocked, healed energy,
yeah,
really, do you not want to stand in your own pure, divine, loving self and really look at you and love you entirely? belly, knowing that beautiful cleansing is happening with you, for you, because you, the human, is so beautiful. And then you can share that expression out there. You know, we have too many martyrs and victims running around who are half healed, and the intention is pure. They want to help. They want to know, what is my mission? But without them gifting to them first,
Yeah.
you know, then
Well, and I should
sharing
preface
after.
one of the things that you can do, which is kind of ironically kind of how we sort of met, is so on my album Love Expanding Love, I have a song called My Heart. So what I did first at that particular beautiful moment with all these 1,000 people is there's a song that I wrote which is all about putting your hand on your heart and saying I love you to yourself and for yourself, from yourself first. So
Yeah.
really loving you first, healing you first. And then once you're in that space and that frequency of wellness within yourself, then essentially, like you had said, beaming that frequency.
So, Paul, I know that we have a couple of your beautiful songs keyed up to share with our audience here, but
Yeah.
that's also the song, that very important song, Put Your Hand on Your Heart and Say I Love You. Is there a possibility that we can share that right
Yeah,
now?
we
Would
can
that
do
be
that.
difficult to find? And
No, I
also,
can do that.
okay, and Paul, Dr. Paul, is that not the song also that was played and sung at Louise Hay's birthday?
Yeah, so that was that was the moment where essentially that song was used by our friend Dr. Christian Northrup as a surprise for Louise Hay with me in the audience that day. And it was used, really, it was her last birthday before she transitioned. And it was used to honor her. And it was the coolest moment because I was actually watching it from the audience perspective, this whole thing go down, and it was a big surprise. And the thing that was, it just was so divinely designed. And what happened is, I remember what I loved is that Louise said nothing that day. She said nothing. She went on the stage, they sang that song to her, and everybody in the audience put their hand on their own heart, which meant that her mission of self-love was fulfilled, is how I
Oh,
see this. So
wow.
everybody in the audience just loved themselves that day. And actually, by doing that, loved Louise, actually. So it was the coolest moment. And what I loved about watching it is Christiane actually took her hand and put it on Louise's heart that day. So it was sort of like that came together as well. And
Oh.
it was one of those moments. There is videos of it that you can look up, but it's one of the most beautiful moments I've ever seen in my life.
Ah, that's so lovely. I didn't remember that Dr. Christiane Northrup was on that stage
Yeah,
because I've seen that. I've watched that. That's so,
it
oh,
was her
wow.
that directed the whole thing. She's the
Ah,
mastermind behind that whole thing. It wasn't Hay House. It was actually her.
oh, wow. Well,
In
she is a
that
bit of a
song.
mastermind.
Yeah. And I have to say, in fairness too, I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back, but I also flew there and I paid for everything. I didn't charge a dime for doing it. And they didn't pay me a dime for doing it. I paid for all of that myself. And you know what? There's something powerful about that too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's like more of that gift, more of that acknowledgement,
Yeah,
isn't it? So for
exactly.
those that don't know, Louise Hay is iconic. I mean, she's iconic in the field of AIDS and really helping a lot of people with AIDS. And like Princess Diana did the same thing, similar, shining a light on never leave a person behind. Why would we leave a human being behind? It is only the ignorance of the powers that were that have tried to force people to shun away from those that really need help. And AIDS, as we've come to discover, is a manufactured, patented disease, very similar to what people are being injected with these days. Another patented, do you know, interesting. I was listening yesterday, I heard on the radio briefly that there was a buffoon of a politician, especially the British ones, the chinless wonders we call them. That's how they all start a conversation. Most of them, they're so traumatized by their boarding schools, bless them. Anyway, this politician was saying, well, we really don't know where it came from. We really, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I listening to? More baloney. And he's like, we can't actually confirm that it came out of Wuhan. I'm like, yeah, mate. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. it's manufactured. It came out of there. Just interesting because, you and I discuss world events every time we get together, what's going on. And that's something that was very current. And people like Louise Hay stand head and shoulders over and above any of the controlled stories that we are forced to listen to. And she touched the lives of so many people. She gave so many people confidence. Her book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, books like that, Heal Your Life. And you do a course on her. You actually are qualified as a facilitator. Can you share us a little bit about that? And then can we play that song, please?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things about Louise Hay, which I love, is that she teaches and created this program with Dr. Patricia Crane, and it's Love Yourself, Heal Your Life, which is the course. And it's actually based on her You Can Heal Your Life book, which sold, I believe it's at 70 million copies, which is pretty wild in the world of books from numbers. And then she created, of course, as we know, Hay House Publishing, and published many of the people like Dr. Christiane Northrup and a lot of the people that we love.
Wayne
Um,
Dyer, Jack Canfield, the former
exactly.
thought lead, or some are still working to this day as thought leaders and
Yeah.
spiritual,
Yeah, so
philosophers.
and I have been teaching that coursework for I guess almost now 3 years. I'm into that space now, and what I love about it more than anything is we're in a time where she believed in healing the world. That was really her real. We need to heal ourselves. When we're healed, then the world heals, and I love that. We need to remember that it's us that need to heal, and then when we're healed, then the world actually heals. So that's sort of how the process that she knew, and she started with AIDS, which I think is so interesting that it was a pandemic, that same situation. And she even has a book which I actually bought. This Look at this for a minute. I found this book, which is not really very easy to find, but the AIDS book, and it's actually creating a positive approach. And this is actually what made her famous, is treating people with love and dignity during a world disaster. So it was, as
Right.
AIDS known to become. So she wrote this book, and when you read it, there's some interesting similarities to what we've gone through now. So
Exactly, because of
she
the
was
immune system.
all of the
Paul, we're
same.
not
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Paul, we didn't plan to talk about Louise Hay. We
Yeah.
had a couple of songs keyed up already, but I love how this conversation is kind of drifting that way, because you and I have
Yeah.
got a lot of history between us over these years. We've been
Yeah.
on very similar journeys. We know very, very similar people. And it
Yeah.
is and not just you and I, but people watching this have been on exactly the same journeys.
Yeah.
And I want everyone to feel so good about themselves in their own spiritual seeking of self and others, and the books they've read and the things that they know, and then never to take our eye off those who will be held accountable for all of the suffering of the last 45 years, let's say, but in
Or
particular,
longer.
what we're, yeah, or longer. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's so, again, interesting. I've often said that somehow when something major has happened, that I either know somebody firsthand right next to the person, or I know the person.
Yeah.
And the night that Louise Hay passed, a very close friend of mine who's a doctor was with her, was
Yeah.
with Louise. And then the next morning, I just happened to have an appointment with my friend. I go over, I open the front door, and she looks at me and she said to me, she's gone. And I'm like, no. And that
Wow.
was that very next morning. So Louise Hay, God love you, lady. She impacted so many people. And she'd get criticized for being, a little bit outspoken, a little bit rough and ready, and, whatever. But so what? Let someone
Yeah.
be who they be, despite the way they deliver the message. Enough of the judging already.
One of the things that I love is she had chutzpah. She had that beautiful, like, as Christiane Northrup would say, female balls, and I loved it
Yeah,
because she actually was. I remember one of the last interviews that she had. She was cornered in her sort of her beliefs and in health and wellness, and this person thought that they had slam dunked her into a corner. And anybody that's done anything public with her, they know when I call it the corner, and they try to get you in there so you can't get out. She had
right.
no problem getting out of there. And she said, medicine's a pretty new a new thing. You know, we know that. So please, and she just pushed back with this beautiful truth, because the truth will cut through anything, right? And she just pushed back with the truth about really the Western model of medicine is quite new. And we've been doing this, you know, for thousands of years, being human beings. So you might want to remember all the things that happened before the last 100 years of Western medicine. So
Exactly.
yeah. So
Yeah.
anyways,
Lovely, lovely. All right. Well,
so I have,
let us share that hand on your heart, please.
sounds good. Yeah. So this is actually, I'm just going to cue it up here. And then this is it here. So what you can do to start with this before it plays is just take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just take a deep breath in, just becoming aware of your heart space with love. And out. And just breathe naturally as it plays.
Put your hand on your heart and put your hand on your heart and say I love you and close your eyes. Feel your breath beneath that beautiful heart in your chest, and look inside of your soul, and there is a love coming to life. I see your love as one love. I feel the joyfulness of bliss in this. And can you see your waterfall? And your heart is leading to it all. Your stream, how it flows, it glistens as it goes. And shine your light, and shine your heart, shine your light, and shine your heart. You are a radiant starlight, and raise your light and put your hand on your beautiful heart and put your hand on your beautiful heart and say I love you. I love you. And close your eyes, feel your breath beneath that beautiful heart. Yes, there's a beautiful heart in your chest.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
So that was a beautiful moment. Thank you for sharing that with me and everyone uniting in the heart space.
Definitely. You know, we forget, you know, we need these loving, gentle reminders. Sometimes we can hear a statement on a broadcast like this and we go, oh, yeah. And then we're on to the next thought that is conjured by the person speaking. But to actually sit back in a moment, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of that beautiful piece of music there, and just remembering us first, and then step forward and present that love. Now, you recently had a bit of a journey to India, friend,
Yes.
and you had to assert your very gentle, natural nature, wielding the sword of defiance.
Yeah, right. Right.
Could you briefly share that story with us, please?
Yeah, so we were just sharing briefly about this. Dani was asking me how I was doing before kind of hitting record, and I was sharing just ultimately I was invited to meet the Dalai Lama essentially the end of last year, so the tail end of 2022, and I have to say, you know, for me that was a moment of really, I think just getting to a part of understanding with someone that I think ultimately has compassion. That's really, you know, that's really how I felt about going, is it was just to unite in that energy of compassion for the world through human hearts sort of coming together. So anyways, when I was in Denmark, I have visions sometimes, and you know, I have my team that shows me lovely things that I need to know. And it was just this message: you need to go to the embassy in India or in Denmark for in the Indian consulate and deal with your paperwork. And I knew with all the restrictions that were going on, I was like, well, that's a pretty direct message. So I went to have a session with finding out what we needed to do to get to India. And for whatever reason, and I've been to India before the, you know, the last 3 year sort of situational stuff. And when I went there, it became very apparent that they were asking for things that they've never asked for, and they wanted all of this crazy documentation, stuff that I've never, like, I was shocked at, you know, what I needed to give them. It's very private information. They were collecting so much data that's private, and I thought it was very unusual. So I actually, you know, ultimately, I just was shocked that it was so much personal information. And then the checklist, we would do all of the things on the checklist, but for whatever reason, we were being blocked every time we provided everything they were asking for. And I was just, you know, we went once, then twice, then 3 times, then 4 times. And by the 5th time, I was just like, this is ridiculous. And every time we went, there was another excuse. So I finally just sort of called in God. And I said to them, as soon as I said God off my lips, they went sort of like, oh, don't bring God into this. And I was like, oh, it's time to bring God into this because this is ridiculous now. And it's time for God to be in this moment now. That's enough, you know? And instantly the visas were given. And I think just it's a reminder for all of us that, you know, we forget we are divinely supported by the beloved creator, and that energy can be with us in any particular part and moment when we need it. So I think it's just a great reminder of, I think, just making sure that we know that we're not alone. There's always something helping us, you know, do this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, the tests that people have been put through to ask to be given, you know, your bank statements and all that, you know, private stuff. This is the negatives testing the, you know, humanity. How far can we push them? How much more can we humiliate, own, and enslave them? Which, of course, we pushed back and said, enough, off you go, off you pop. So you mentioned the Dalai Lama, who up until very recently was in all quarters of the planet like so revered and loved and was a real beloved, and then in the next, you know, breath, at the last kind of 3 years, now there are people that say absolutely dreadful things, and you know, oh, he took an inoculation, what does that mean about his spirituality, you know? So we're all, you know, kind of very confused, a lot of people that followed him, and now they think that's not a good thing, and why was he trying to say to people this is a good thing? And you know, ultimately what I want to say on that is there are people I know, beloveds, intelligent, who made a decision to take some medicine. And it is not for us to all, I feel, stand in judgment. Who the hell are we? We don't know why each individual did that. But we've got to get out, I feel, at this stage, Dr. Paul, of this permanence in judgment, because it is dividing the most beautiful people who are on their own individual journey of having taken medicine for whatever reason. It is still further decaying the element of a beautiful humanity coming together, no matter what they did during that time. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I love how you set that up. That's a great, it's a great moment of contemplation, to be contemplative in our thought about it, because we need to remember our heart. We need to remember our cosmic mind coming together. So here's the thing. Everybody's making the best decision they know how at any particular time. And it isn't for us to judge it, actually. But what we do is we empower ourselves to have the free choice to choose it. So this is the thing for me. It always goes back to going within yourself. So I think, to speak to the point, I have to say the Dalai Lama and his crew were very much into the things that you talked about, okay? So they wanted to know these things. Now, I will say this, I went there, and let's just say this, I am not the usual person in that way. So I didn't conform to any of those things, and I was still able to go and meet him. So I say this because the door opened for me to be fine with going without that situation, being an issue. And the reason why I went really ultimately, and it was very interesting when I went, because I was with about 34 leaders from around the world that are doing good works. And it was a beautiful opportunity to sort of be together with people for the first time for me, like in that close setting for a week sort of retreat. And then we met him sort of at the tail end. And the thing that I just want to say about meeting him, I had this awareness. I didn't know what to expect meeting him, but what I can say is, first of all, he is a beautiful, energetically kind, caring, compassionate person. And you can feel it. You can palpate it in the room. And the other thing is, he served us cookies and tea that day that he's never done for anybody else. So it was very special, which allowed us to take off our masks, which I thought said something about him. And I think his people tell him a lot of things about what to do. But he actually had us take off our masks so that we could actually have cookies and tea with him. So I thought that was kind of interesting, just saying. So he was without a mask, and all of us were after we started to drink our tea and cookies, right? Just saying.
You raise a good point. Please don't lose your thoughts, because I do want to say that he has handlers. Iconic people on the planet all have handlers or a team. Now, as an older man, it may have been advised, and I'm not making excuses. And if you think that, anyone watching this, it's not the broadcast for you. You can leave now. But again, we all have our personal idea now that we know so much more. I mean, our friend Dr. Christiane Northrup wrote a book about the ingredients inside. It's terrifying. Not every single person that got it had the same medicine either. But someone like him, maybe he was advised, listen, you're fine, just take this. It's going to help you not catch it. Not that you can catch a virus, which is another thing that's hanging out there that people don't seem to be addressing still. This is not going to be another 9/11, mate. I can tell you that now. And I know you know that. We're not going to go another series, another decade of a humanity not having the balls to use their voice and question 9/11 back on the table and this current,
thing,
covidious time of whatever. But yeah, so I wanted to say that, and I love that he may have been advised as an older man, you need it because blah blah blah, and maybe trusted, and felt that was the right thing for him to do regardless. But the fact that he sat there knowing that you have kept your DNA in perfect pedigree status, and others were, it didn't stop him from inviting people in. So that it's nice to hear that, because you are behind the curtain, and there are so many people that love him, Dr. Paul, but you're giving us an insight that none of us who love the Dalai Lama were able to see. Thank you.
Yeah, and the thing that I want to say is that it wasn't, I wasn't blocked from going to, I mean, I touched his hand and I said, thank you very much. And I'm going to say this too. One of the things that came through as a message for me. Now I'm going to I want, as our friend George Lewis says, all of these pyramids are basically collapsing right now, right? They're all just dissolving into the equality of what it means to be here. We're all equals. Dalai Lama, equal. Okay. We're all equal.
Yes.
Every single person watching this, we are equals.
Totally.
So here's the thing. I had this message that, you know, and this is something, if you've ever met someone famous, the old me used to be like, oh my God, famous people, like, blah, 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 like dumb stuff, right? So, and the thing that I realize now for me, first of all, the message was that this man is very blessed to meet you too. This man is very blessed to meet the people that are beside you too. So there's no hierarchy. In that room that day for me, there was none of that. I dissolved that. And I think that it's time for us to start owning our power, recognize that you are equally important. There's no fame or celebrity greater that way. So I really feel that that's really important to remember. And he was humbled. He was such a humble man that I sort of, you know, I think we naturally put these people on pedestals, and yes, they have earned the right to be, you know, recognized for their good works, but so do we. You know, we are equal, and just helping one person is equal to anybody helping anybody. So if you help one person, you are an amazing human being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Okay, I have currently lost you on my screen. So we're going to keep going.
I'm here.
No interruption. Good. I cannot see a thing. May we please, if it is the appropriate moment, share, as we were discussing, the beautiful Dr. Bruce Lipton, the greatest cell biologist on planet Earth, in my opinion, and I'm sure yours too. If you could share a little bit of this joyful man and the gathering that was created in Denmark.
Yeah, so let me just set this up before I click on this, but this is a beautiful, I sort of was discerning on what to show you today, but I really feel like I want to amplify us coming together and not being scared of each other, whatever beliefs we have or whatever differences we have, whatever divides we have, coming together. And with Bruce Lipton, I think this moment shows kind of one of the first moments, you know, of human beings getting back together in, you know, a concert setting, in a lecture setting, and really being close together and touching each other and hugging, you know, like the stuff that it means to be a human being, you know. So I wanted to just share some of the video that a couple of my friends took of this moment, and just singing together. I think I love the word universal. Is really the, you know, universe is uni, one, and verse is song. And when we come together with our heart as one song in human beings, no matter, you know, where we're from or what we believe, what skin color we have, or even what planet we're from. I'm not from Earth. I incarnated here. And I think ultimately, I think when we remember that we're visitors here, we have to be good guests here. And that means actually like coming together and sharing what it means to have a human experience as an incarnated being. So anyways, this is that moment in beautiful Denmark, in Copenhagen, in Farum, which is where this was. So this is just a quick video.
Oh, rivers of light, flow deep through my soul. Oceans of oceans, rivers of light, circles of spheres of void light. It's a beautiful thing to be alive with so much light. Here we go. So heal the world. Come on and heal the world. Come on and heal the world. Come on and heal the world. Oh, circles of love. That is what we truly are. No end and no beginning, just full love. 360 degrees of love. It's a beautiful seven ways. Is it yours or is it mine? It's time to, here we go. Heal the world. Come on and heal the world. Come on and heal the world. Come on and heal the world. Connect your love from the inside out. So heal the world. Come on and heal the world. Beautiful. Yes. This final piece.
Yeah, that was it was really funny because people were so quiet, but I asked them to sing, and I asked them not to clap. Well, like I wanted them to feel the beautiful sort of nourishment after a song is sung rather than just clapping at the end. But I
Yeah.
loved how they were so in the moment. And I think I think after, the last 3 years, people just wanted to come together and feel what it meant to be together. And it was so pure. And I think just what I love about the last 3 years more than anything is that we take for granted being together. And I think if anything, one of the takeaways, the silver lining for me, the rainbow in my clouds, is that I will never take for granted.
Yeah.
I'll never take for granted being with human beings.
Yeah, I know. We're so lucky. We're such a beautiful species, and
Yes, we are.
we're literally, those of us who've decided to, step up, step out. There are so many more, and this is our humanity. Humans are such beautiful beings.
It's ours. Like it doesn't belong to anyone. And this is the thing, like, I think the one thing I just want to say, if I can just say, just remember how important you are, that you are worthy. And these last 3 years have been very hard. Like I struggled a lot. Like people haven't talked about their struggle, but I struggled through this. I lost my hope. I lost my faith a little bit. Like I really did sort of go into a depression. I thought we were further ahead than we were, but at the same time I also know it was nefarious. I know it in my soul. I know it was an agenda, but here's the thing, love has already won. And we knew that it's just we got a little bit scared, maybe, at least I did, in personally speaking for me. But I think what is so beautiful now on the other side of the coin, we will never let that happen again, ever.
Absolutely. And again, that's so beautifully put. Speaking up, speaking out, remembering that, we're not in the camps. We do have a voice. There aren't locks on the doors. And we have that universal ability to come together as a species of beingness. And it's been so much that and so many ways we could go here right now. But thank you for just bringing that, again, that remembrance, to gather, to speak, to share, to, have community, commune with each other. It's just so beautiful. Thanks for sharing more of the beautiful Dr. Bruce Lipton, who is really, really difficult to get on a channel. I know, because I've tried 50,000 times and I go back and forth with his PA. Hold on, Dani, maybe, oh no, he's booked up for the next 17 years. I was like, God,
I'll have to ask him. I'll ask
my
him.
God.
You're meant to. He loves everyone, but you have to have him on your beautiful, as you always say, humble but powerful channel.
Yes, small
Yeah.
but mighty. Yeah. I
Yeah.
I say that because I never thought I'd get past 4,000 people. To me, that was like having a million. And I'm way past that now. So, but I'm still humbled by it, most definitely. So we also wanted to talk, amongst other things today, for the beautiful audience that will see this, again, to allow provocation of thought and remembering down the timeline the things that we've come through as a humanity. And we wanted to talk about the Dome of the Rock.
Yeah, that was the one thing that came, I have messages that come through, and this came through right before coming into the space with you today. But I did a meditation actually last year, and it's really simply just to remember unity consciousness, freedom, love, peace, joy, happiness, and really just uniting. The Dome of the Rock, it's been said that it's one of the most powerful points, vector points on the planet. There's many of them, but that's a really important one for unity consciousness. And if you have, just a moment in yourself, let's just do it together, where we just sort of unite together really with our sovereign heart, our sovereign being. So, you belong to no one, you belong to yourself. And so just unite in that spirit of yourself and just love that beautiful 100% freedom that is yours. It's your divine right. And really just take a deep breath into it. And then just become aware of the Dome of the Rock, and just that you are putting the energy of freedom into the rock and into that area as a focal point, and just that you are a divine being of divine love ultimately, and that you are a free being. And so in that unity intention, I feel like it just gets stronger and stronger the more we do that. And that was sort of, I think, just the message that came through, to just bring some awareness to it.
Paul, for those that don't know what the Dome of the Rock is, and there are some, and that's all right too, could you explain to us what it is and why there's so much attention, and what religions put their attention on it, please?
I actually think it's been greatly covered up, and I think just to bring awareness to ultimately the fact that I would actually prefer you to research it. I think it's more powerful for our actual audience to look into it themselves and to discover. I know on the Unified TV sort of channel, the new Unified, you can find out some information about some things that have been said about the Dome of the Rock. But I think that there's a great amount of, I think, secrecy around it. And I think that there's some, I think ultimately some technologies that exist in that area of the world that have been sort of guarded and protected. And I think more than anything, I just want to bring attention to the freedom of oneself and the power that you yield from within yourself when you claim your freedom, your free will. I am free, I shall always be free, period, not a question. And that all is well within me, all shall always be well within me. And then in that space is just look up anything you can around. I think just the Dome of the Rock yourself. I think it's a better way to answer the question, because I think we need to become better vessels of looking into things ourselves. So I actually think it's better for people to look up that than coming from a third party like me.
I agree with you. People are so lazy. Oh my God. And I have been a total lazy ass myself. So I can say I know other people, they're like, oh, give me the next thing, and after this broadcast, like, oh, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. Such is the way that our brains have been groomed and programmed. Don't sit in resonance with information that might actually expand your cellular biology. Let's just go on to the next thing, run down to the fridge, grab that chocolate. Well, I will say to people is encouraging, as Dr. Paul is here, because when you look into the history of the Dome of the Rock, and even though our history has been so manipulated and so altered on many levels, you are going to come up against stories like, gosh, if you could see my screen right now, it's like it's gone. Yeah, it's gone again. Oh, it's back. Hello. Anyway, whatever, because we're talking about things that need to be talked about, and therefore they will be then spoken about and they will be presented. We're looking at Judaism, the religion of Islam. We're looking at Christianity. We're looking at the ancient Kabbalah, not the Kabul, but the Kabbalah with a K, the Kabbalah. There's also people that believe very strongly the galactic impressions that sit above at a certain time of year and day, above the Dome of the Rock, is direct access to the Pleiades. Now, the other elements are there are more thunderstorms, more lightning strikes, more bolts of the rods of God, as is called, also recorded in that area. It is a magical area of great majesty and great reverence between many groups of humans, many cults and religions, which are all to me the same meaning. A group of people that believe in a set of rules is a cult, from forming a culture. A lot of Christians get very upset with that word, but hey ho, down the banks and up again. We all have to stand and acknowledge that you cannot separate yourself as a royalty in your own minds because you think this is the only real way on the planet and everybody else is doomed. It's just simply not true. And so when we open all of the doors around the topic of the Dome of the Rock, I think a lot of people will be pleasantly surprised and maybe a little shocked here and there as to what it actually means and implies for us. So we shall leave it there, my darling Dr. Paul.
To sort of wrap it up is at the Dome of the Rock. And I think more than anything, we have a sacred technology that dwells within each of us. And the sacred technology is the secret garden that we are here to bloom and nurture within ourselves. So I think just, leaving this beautiful container of timelessness, because that's what this is, it's a space of timelessness, is I just want to say, thank you for sharing the sacred garden with each other openly. There's no veils in that. There's truth and transparency. And that's what we are beaming now, and that's the frequency that will actually really thrive now as we sort of move away from this indoctrinated crap of the past. So I really thank you, Dani, for all the wonderful work you do, and those that are uniting in this community. Thank you with all of my heart and soul, and I'm going to say God bless you with divine freedom and love from within yourself for yourself.
That's beautiful, Dr. Paul. Thank you. I know that we may have a third beautiful piece of your lovely music. I'll put all of your links underneath. You have, is it 9 albums you've created at this stage?
8 albums. Yeah, 8 albums. And one of the things, there's 2 albums that I feel guided to just talk about, just to end this, is maybe if you're interested in some music for your DNA, your literal DNA. When I was showing this album, I wrote it in 2012 during that 2012, the Mayan calendar time. And I was being shown the DNA and really becoming the diamond light signature within yourself. So really like bringing in the divine diamond light signature of your DNA and cleaning it and getting it into the 12 strand idea. It's kind of funny, like that 12 is a big, powerful number. So the Diamond Light album is also a piece of the Love Expanding Love album. So they go together. So those are 2 albums. But then during COVID, during that time, we actually, I was guided to write Spheres of Love, which is this album behind me. And this album is all about honoring you as the vessel of the beloved that you are for yourself. So those are the albums that I feel are for the times that are really important in my music catalog.
I love it. I love it. So beautiful. So what will we be hearing?
Okay.
now?
So I have queued up Rainbows Now. So let me just do one quick change over here. I just have to change one thing. Bear with me for 2 seconds.
Take your time, my love.
Okay, there we go. That's out. And then I had this album song from, I feel like there's an element of a rainbow because it understands the spectrum of color. And we are, as human beings, we have the spectrum of what it means to be a human being with the love signature that is within us. So this is a song really honoring that space within us that is the rainbow of the spectrum of life.
I feel heaven's light in you. My heart is a beautiful heart within my chest, given to me by the holy grace of you. My soul is a beautiful soul, a piece of you, given to me by the holy kindness of you. And my heart and soul sings reds and yellows of love and pinks and greens, purples and oranges and every shade of blue, ruby reds and sapphires too. Soul, sing diamond lights of love for you, and my heart sings rainbows now, and my soul shines my life beams with whole love and freedom now. I am a sphere of love. My life is a beautiful life, a vibration of you. My life was given to me by the mercy of you. My music reaches the most sacred space within the heart and soul where your love truly lives. And my heart and soul sings reds and yellows of love and pinks and greens, purples and oranges and every shade of blue, ruby reds and sapphires too. My heart and soul sing diamond lights of love for you, and my heart sings rainbows now, and my soul shines rainbows now, and my life beams with whole love and freedom now. I am a sphere of rainbows now.
I didn't know what was in that video, but it's so funny. These are just all the beautiful people that I've met along the journey of life. And I think, you know, more than anything, it's beautiful.
So we are now in Toronto.
I'm so sorry. That's playing.
Explain where we are.
I just think that the world is such a beautiful.
We're in Cabbagetown, which is
a beautiful gift. So I'm just so grateful to share the world with everyone. And I think, you know, our life is really not a dress rehearsal. It's really, you know, it's really for you to become who you're meant to be. And I think I was someone that made myself, I used to be scared of becoming who I am. And I really want to encourage people, I think, just to really be able to shine your own light and become who you're destined to be, you know?
Absolutely. I feel so relaxed after just breathing in that beautiful music there. And that's what your music does. It, you know, it always has, it breathes into the soul, it breathes into the heart. It is a beautiful way to meditate deeply for those that don't have the patience to sit and go into other alternative meditations. Listening to your music and plugging in, it just takes you there. There's something very magical about it. Well, Dr. Paul Reverend Luftenegger. It's a long title, and I know you don't care for titles, but Dr. Reverend Paul Luftenegger, my friend for many years. I love you. I thank you for sharing your beautiful grace here on the Small But Mighty channel. And to you guys out there, thank you all for sitting in audience with Reverend Paul and I. His music links will be underneath this video. There are at least three other broadcasts on my channel with more music. If you want to just listen, plug in your headphones. We've done 2 other previous or 3 concerts like this one, and you are a joy to the world. Dr. Paul Luftenegger, you are. I love you, and I love you guys out there, and I will see you all soon.
Bye, everyone.